Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Wednesday, May the 14th, 2025, and the time now is 7:48 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk briefly about Morocco. I want to talk specifically about the fact that Morocco is said to have reached the production of avocado to 100,000 tons. Now, friends, given what we know about Africa and that part of Africa, the Sahara region, the Sahel region, and North Africa. We've come to know or accept stereotypically these regions around the world or these regions in Africa and North Africa as desert or deserted regions. However, I believe that many would not realize or accept the fact that countries such as Morocco or Egypt are very strong in terms of agriculture, the production of fruits, crops, okay, food and vegetables. Now, Morocco is said to have boosted its production, increased its production and export of avocado. Now, avocado is now being said to be one of the wonder fruits, okay, or wonder crops or whatever of the world. Avocado is being used for many reasons. It is being used in terms of its raw and physical form. Okay, we are peeling it, we are eating it with our rice, we are putting it in sauce or making sauce out of it, using it for the oil extract and for other reasons. Avocado is said to have so many benefits in terms of our health and wellness. Now, my friends, many countries around the world have been trying to boost agriculture and food production, and that is so much so the case for countries that do have deserted climate system or environment. We are seeing that in the Middle East, where Arab countries, Middle Eastern countries, are trying to improve or increase production of food and other things. In North Africa, in Africa as well. Now, it is very interesting given that Donald Trump recently and currently we do have the war that Donald Trump waged, the international trade war, which is now seemed to be focused specifically, primarily on China. Donald Trump has basically pulled back, suspended tariff on every country with the exception of China, at least as far as I know as of now. But I feel like many countries in the world, and in this case, Morocco has to be very careful and try to be strategic, be very purposeful in terms of its ability and willingness to increase and sustain the production of food and vegetable for its domestic consumption and also international trade. Now, Moroccan avocado goes primarily in Europe. France is one of the countries that it goes to. Now, friends, these three countries are said to be responsible for at least 80% of Morocco's export of avocado, and the rest goes to other 25 countries or so. Now, my guess is if you look at those countries that Morocco primarily export agriculture or avocado in this case too, the vast majority of them, I believe, are outside of Africa. So my question then is, what is Morocco doing to sustain a domestic Africa production and distribution? Because Africa needs the product, any product, food and vegetables. Africa wants to eat. Africa is hungry. Now, friends, given that Donald Trump has initiated a global international trade war, an economic war, a tariff war, African countries, and in this case, Morocco, have to be very strategic and intentional about their willingness and their ability to sustain themselves, okay? Sustain their production of food and vegetables for domestic and international consumption. Now, what is Morocco doing, my friends, to sustain a domestic Africa production of avocado and food and fruits and vegetables for domestic Africa consumption and domestic Africa trade? Because what Donald Trump has initiated demonstrate that the rest of the world, or in this case, Morocco specifically, should not be reliant, okay, or relying on trade with the United States and outside institutions and country. Morocco might want to begin to sustain production and distribution and sales of its product to Africa, because in this case, it means that Africa and Morocco will become rich, and Africa and Morocco will not be susceptible to the pressure of the international world or community, such as what Donald Trump has done with the trade, the tariff trade war, economic war, and so on and so on and so on. However, for Morocco, it is said that since 2022, 23, 23, 24, and so, the production of avocado, the export of avocado from Morocco has increased significantly from 25% to about 73 or 75%, and so on. Now, it is said that Morocco has increased or boosted the production and distribution or export of avocado to about 100,000 tons. So basically, Morocco has reached its target of the production and distribution of avocado. So it is kudos to Morocco in this case. However, my friends, my question once again, as much as it is good for Morocco to increase the production and distribution or export of avocado, and it is being traded by Morocco to the rest of the world, or primarily to Europe and the bigger, powerful Western countries, what is Morocco doing to cultivate and to sustain a domestic Africa production, distribution, export, sales of avocado? In this case, friends, this is for Morocco to prevent itself from becoming susceptible to outside manipulation, such as what Donald Trump has done, and solidified its economic and financial and cultural ties with the rest of Africa. Now, friends, if you're new to this channel or if you're watching my videos for the first time, I want you to know that every international institution in the world, such as the African Union, ECOWAS, and so on, the United Nations, NATO, CARICOM, EU, does have at least one playlist on this channel. However, every country, such as Morocco, South Africa, Liberia, Ghana, Guinea, Ivory Coast, the United States, China, Brazil, and so on, will have at least two playlists on this channel. One is domestic, the country's name, and the other, the country's name. So this is how it works. The domestic, the country's name playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas that focus specifically, primarily on the country's domestic situation, such as agriculture, food production, food stability, domestic stability, infrastructure, employment for the youth, and so on and so on and so on. In this case, the domestic Morocco playlist will feature videos, talks, programs about what is happening in Morocco. However, friends, the country's name playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas that focus specifically on the country's interaction or relations with countries and institutions in the world and in its region. In this case, we are talking about Morocco. Therefore, the Morocco playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas that focus on Morocco's interaction with North African countries, and institutions and companies within or on the continents of Africa, and also Morocco's interaction with countries and institutions around the world. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But friends, I'm going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, or most important, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.